Conventionally, a magazine's title itself will be chosen to fit the genre of music the magazine deals with. For example, if we look at Kerrang's masthead, the name is chosen because it is onomatopoeia for the sound of an electric guitar, associated with rock music. For my title, I name my magazine 0.26, as this is the thickness of a guitar string which falls somewhere in the middle of a guitar. The guitar reference connotes rock, while the positioning of the string indicates that the magazine is kind of a middle ground and has something for everyone. There are two main conventions for the positioning of a magazine's masthead. With a long masthead, such as Kerrang, the masthead will usually run across most of the top centre of the page. However, if the masthead is shorter, this won't work. In order to remain in proportion and cover the width of the page, the masthead would have to be made so large it would take up the majority of the page. Given that 0.26 is a fairly short title, my masthead, like those of Q and NME, sat in the top left corner of the magazine, a convention for smaller mastheads. Like Q, my masthead uses a box behind it to make it more prominent, as unlike the extra bold font of NME, my font does not have a huge impact on its own. Throughout my front page I use red, black and white consistently and exclusively, establishing a robust but simple house style. The use of only one colour is easy on the eye, as well as making bursts of colour all the more striking. Q uses a similar house style. Another integral part of my house style is the use of destroyed and weathered imagery, such as this graphic on my masthead's font. This again relates to rock's grunge style, rough around the edges feel. Similar graphics can be seen in such magazines as Kerrang, which demonstrates that this imagery is conventional to the music genre I chose. Following convention, as demonstrated by these examples, the straplines of titles positioned like mine are usually written in smaller font below the title, as this allows them to be easily spotted without detracting from the importance of the masthead. Like many, such as Q's strapline, I've used superlative, making my magazine seem like it offers something which the competition do not. It's the biggest rock magazine in the country, suggesting that, at least in this regard, it beats its competition. As seen on the front cover shown here, cover lines tend to mostly deal with artist interviews, and prominently feature the name of the artist about whom they're talking. On my front page I have prominently featured the artist names in larger type and a more interesting font than the summaries below in order to achieve this effect. One convention of magazines is that the cover lines are deliberately succinct. They aim to prompt the reader to ask questions and promise answers within the magazine, providing an incentive to buy it. We see some great examples on the front page of Kerrang and Mojo. On the front page of Kerrang, a cover line asks whether a band are heroes or sellouts, a rhetorical question designed to make the reader question this point and spark controversy, thus making the reader wish to know more. Another common technique is seen on the front page of Mojo, where an out-of-context pull quote is featured, making the reader question the context and therefore want to buy and read the product, to gain that context. I in fact used a pull quote like this on my own front page, a conventional use of language to increase sales. Another way magazines often try and make extra sales is through the use of a free giveaway, designed to make consumers feel like they're getting more for their money. In the case of Mojo, this is a free CD, whereas weekly magazines such as Kerrang sell for less and as such give away cheaper items such as free posters. I've combined elements from both these magazines on my front page. Given that my magazine is a weekly publication, I've decided to give away posters. I used a sticker-style graphic to present this, similar to Mojo. This differentiates the offer from the rest of the cover lines and therefore draws extra attention to it, especially given that the sticker overlaps other content, meaning anyone viewing the other elements will notice the sticker. Many magazines also place an emphasis on reviews, such as Kerrang, and so I've done the same, stating that there are over 100 reviews in my magazine. Similarly to the way Mojo, for instance, boasts 145. Cover lines are usually split into titles and brief, deliberately succinct summaries of those titles as seen here. I followed this format as it is known to spark intrigue in potential customers. As seen in other weekly magazines such as Kerrang, my front page is jam-packed with cover lines and information, as unlike a monthly magazine, which is more focused on very attractive design, the front cover of a weekly magazine focuses much more on the amount of content inside. The main image of music magazines follows a fairly rigid set of conventions, but certain magazines do certain things slightly differently. It's a fairly constant theme that the artist looks out of the page at the reader, establishing a personal connection with the reader and suggesting that the interviews inside will be similarly personal and revealing. The artist's picture is always in the centre and is always directly relevant to the artist's own musical style and attitude. For example, people appearing on a DJ magazine often appear disinterested or sullen, as this is the general stage presence of many DJs. However, Artists on a rock magazine, such as these examples, are often smug or even aggressive, reflecting the nature of rock music and its lyrics. Given that my product is a rock magazine, my photo features a model pulling a smug expression. Most artist photos are either close-ups or medium close-ups, and as such, I've used a medium close-up for my magazine. Given that I used a female artist for my magazine, I had to research how women are presented in rock, and came to the conclusion that heavy makeup, vibrant lipstick, and dark eyeliner seem to be fairly conventional, as well as vibrant hair. As such, these were elements I employed in my magazine. Another convention regarding the presentation of artists is that they're often presented as larger-than-life characters, such as this example from Kerrang of Black Veil Brides, or Siouxsie Sioux and Mojo. As such, I referred to my own artist as a devil and coloured her eyes and hair red stylistically. Conventionally, casual but stylish clothes tend to be worn by rock artists, and I followed this trend with a long-sleeve t-shirt for my artists. I chose a gothic t-shirt decorated with bleeding roses as well as rose earrings to connote gothic imagery, continuing my house style. As is required of all front pages, I included a barcode and a price for my magazine. Contents pages are usually arranged in 3 columns, and so I did the same. Contents pages usually feature a large, obvious header informing us that the page is in fact a contents page, such as this one or this one, and these can be positioned differently based on the layout of the rest of the page. Contents pages generally feature studio shots or live shots of the artist inside the magazine, and I've featured such shots here. Rock-based magazines such as Kerrang or to an extent NME often use a large image of a live concert as their main image. Often not of the main artist from the front page, but of another big artist instead. I've taken this approach with my work, using a photograph I took at a gig. Sections of contents pages are differentiated using columns of article headings followed by brief summaries of the articles, which I've done here. The articles are page labelled on contents pages, the page numbers usually residing in obvious graphics to the side of the article title. I featured my own page numbers in a similar fashion. Drawing inspiration from Kerrang, I placed large page numbers on the relevant photographs to tie everything together. Contents pages generally feature the name of the artist with whom the interview was conducted, followed by a brief description of the subject matter of the interview, reflected in my own work. Whilst they're not always on the contents page, magazines often feature subscription adverts. I needed to fill some space below my editorial, so I incorporated my own subscription advert. My house style from the front page continued into my contents page, as with most magazines, such as these examples. I've continued this by using the same colours and the same weathered imagery such as the tearing on this graphic to make it look like old tape. Moving on to my DPS, we again see my continued house style, with the use of faded, battered graphics such as the red bar down the centre of the page. This graphic utilises the colour red as well as grunge thematics. The main title of the article is greatly emphasised, as in most magazines, and like most magazines, this title has a sub-paragraph, giving a brief introduction to the article, designed not to reveal too much and spark intrigue by providing a statement without context. Madeline Moore wants it to stay that way. Readers then ask themselves why, and want to read further. Page furniture is an important part of any DPS. For example, in this Gerard Way interview from Kerrang, these polka dots are used as a border for the page to add some colour and design variety. On my own DPS, I use several types of page furniture common on double page spreads. The first of these is a drops cap, used in nearly all DPS articles, a large, often stylised or coloured letter which draws the eye and leads the reader to the article's beginning, as well as adding some variety to the page. Another popular feature I use were pull quotes, which help break up large areas of text. These are often stylised also, as seen in these examples, and I stylised my own by using a gothic font and adding a splash of red to the speech marks, drawing attention to the pull quotes. The types of photographs used on double page spreads are generally either posed on location shots or studio shots. My shots are studio shots taken in a music studio, implied to be the artist's place of work. I chose to have my artist playing a guitar, then leaning on a jukebox, to ensure the musical focus is clear and also to show her at work, making the article yet more personal, as DPS articles are usually supposed to feel intimate and personal. As for the article itself, there are generally 2 conventional formats in which to write. One format is the standard Q&A approach. This involves highlighting the questions asked and then providing the artist's answer as a separate entity. The other approach, and the one I went for, is the conversational approach, providing the journalist's account of an entire conversation. This allows for details to be explored about the artist's body language, facial expression, and intonation, and is more revealing than a standalone answer. Given that I learned in my research how my target audience likes to know about the lives of artists, this was the approach I went for. The topics discussed in the article are fairly typical of such articles: the artist's music, origins, and relationship with the rest of their band. Colloquial language such as the examples on screen is common in rock music, and I was similarly colloquial in my own interview.